I never believed in aliens, vampires, or anything that didn't fit neatly into a lab report, until the night I met her. It was supposed to be routine. My research team at the New Horizon Observatory had picked up a strange signal near Proxima Centauri, an oscillating pattern of light pulses that defied natural explanation. We were monitoring deep space radio bursts. Fast, faint, and usually meaningless static. But this one wasn't random. Had rhythm, repetition, a kind of heartbeat. When the pulses began syncing with my own biometric readings, exactly matching my pulse rate, I thought it was interference. I thought it was a glitch. It wasn't. The beginning, the signal that knew my name. 2 weeks later, I was alone in the observatory's night dome, calibrating the main dish. The others had gone home. I was drinking cold coffee and listening to the static hum of the universe through the receivers. And then the signal came again. But this time it spoke. Not in English, not exactly. It was more like a whisper under the static, a voice inside my skull rather than in my ears. I remember the first words I understood. Clear, calm, and impossibly close. Elias, why did you stop calling me? The room went silent. Even the machines seemed to hold their breath. My heart slammed against my ribs. No one knew my personal identifier name, the one my mother used before she died. And yet, somehow, that's what the voice had used. The voice was female, low and melodic, with an echo that sounded both distant and intimate. I stared at the data stream. The signal pattern had changed. It wasn't coming from space anymore. The frequency was local, bouncing back from within the building. And then the lights flickered. Something moved in the corner of the room. Just a shadow at first, like the air itself bending. Slowly it took shape. Tall, elegant, vaguely human but translucent, a shimmer of pale silver against the darkness. Her eyes, if they were eyes, glowed faintly red. I stumbled back, knocking over my chair. "Who are you?" She smiled, and in that smile I saw 1,000 stars folding in on themselves. "You called me here, Elias. You wouldn't let me go." I wanted to run, but I couldn't move. My muscles locked. It was as if the air around me had thickened into glass. She came closer, each step silent, and I felt my pulse sink again with hers, as if my blood and her light were merging into one rhythm. She raised her hand, translucent fingers hovering inches from my face. "You forgot," she whispered. But I didn't. And before I could ask what she meant, everything went dark. The middle, the memory of the dead star. I woke up in my apartment, drenched in sweat. The clock said it was morning, but the light outside was wrong. Too dim, too violet. The air tasted metallic. When I checked my phone, every device showed a date 20 years in the future. Panic clawed at my throat. I turned on the news, but the broadcast was nothing but static and strange geometric patterns spinning in endless loops. My reflection on the screen rippled and blinked back at me, not matching my movements. Then I heard her voice again. "You're between moments, Elias. Don't struggle. You're safe for now." She stood in the corner of the room, no longer translucent but almost solid, like a human woman made of pale marble and starlight. Her skin shimmered faintly. Her eyes still burned red, but softer now, like embers. "Where am I?" I demanded. "What have you done to me?" "You're still on Earth," she said. "Just not the version you remember." She explained, or tried to. Her name, she said, was Ariath, one of the sanguivores of the void, a species humanity would one day call vampire aliens. They didn't drink blood for pleasure or hunger. They consumed life energy, electrical, emotional, cellular, to survive in the vacuum of deep space. They could manipulate time and perception, feeding on the neural frequencies of living beings. "You found our signal," Ariath said. But that signal was never meant for humans. It was a recall code, a call for one of us who stayed behind. Stayed behind? Asked, my voice cracking. She looked at me then, truly looked, with something like sorrow. You were one of us. My stomach dropped. That's impossible. Not impossible, she said softly. Forgotten. She reached out, and when her fingers brushed my temple, my memories split open like a wound. I saw flashes, planets with black suns, cities made of living glass, beings of light moving through cosmic storms. I saw myself not as a man, but as something luminous and cold, standing beside her on a world that no longer existed. Ariatha's world had died when its star collapsed. In desperation, she and I, her bondmate, had fled into the dimensional folds between realities, seeking a world that could sustain us. Earth had been young then, full of raw energy. But I couldn't bear the hunger that came with what we were. I sealed away my memory, rewrote my DNA with human structure, and chose to live among the species I had once studied. I had left her behind, trapped between dimensions. And now she had found me again. The hunger returns. Over the next few days, if days still existed in that strange version of reality, Ariath taught me things my human brain could barely process. How time was fluid, how consciousness could echo across light years. But I could feel something changing inside me. My reflection began to flicker. My eyes glowed faintly red in the mirror. I could hear heartbeats, through walls, through buildings miles away. And worse, I wanted them. The first time it happened, I didn't mean to. A man on the street brushed past me, muttering an insult, and suddenly I felt his pulse surge, then stop. His body crumpled as light. His life flowed into me. Ariath found me hours later, hiding in the ruins of an old church that shouldn't have existed in the time I came from. You're awakening, she said gently. It's natural. Natural. Shouted. I killed him. She shook her head. He was already dying. I guided it. You only took what he couldn't keep. I didn't believe her. But when I looked at her eyes, so full of both love and despair, I felt something deeper than belief. I felt recognition. We were two halves of something ancient and broken. And then she said the words that would change everything. You think I came to take you back, Elias. But I didn't. I came to die. The revelation, the vampire's secret, the universe around us began to unravel soon after. The sky bled into darkness. Stars flickered like dying embers. I realized this future Earth wasn't real. It was a pocket dimension she had built, a kind of limbo where time was trapped. Every second we spent there drained her. She was fading. Why didn't you tell me? I asked as her body began to lose coherence, flickering between solid and transparent. Because you wouldn't have stayed, she whispered. You would have run again. What are you dying for? She smiled, a sad, weary smile that made her look almost human. To give you back what you lost. Your freedom. Your humanity. Her hand brushed my cheek, and I felt warmth spread through me. Then pain, raw and electric. The hunger vanished, replaced by something heavier. Grief. When I found your signal, she continued, her voice breaking apart like static, I thought I could make you remember so you'd come home. But the universe we came from is gone, Elias. There is nowhere left to return to. I felt tears I didn't know I could still cry. Then stay with me here. I can't. This place exists only because I'm still holding it together. She looked up at the violet sky, where cracks of white light were forming. When I go, this world will collapse, and you'll wake up where you belong. I grabbed her shoulders. Ariath, don't do this. Please. You wouldn't let me go, she said softly. And that's why I came back, to make sure you finally can." She leaned close, her lips almost touching my ear, and whispered the reason, the truth that froze my heart. "You were the one who destroyed our star." The words shattered something deep inside me. Memories surged. Images of me standing at the core of that dead sun, channeling its energy to stop our species from devouring another world. I had been the cause of their extinction. I had wiped out our kind to save others. And she had loved me anyway. "You did what you had to," she murmured. "But you couldn't live with it. So you buried yourself in time, in flesh, in forgetting." I fell to my knees as she began to dissolve, light pouring from her chest. "Ariath, it's all right," she said, voice fading. "Now you'll live. You'll remember me when the stars call again." And then she was gone. The world cracked open. Light swallowed everything. The end. The echo that remains. I woke in the observatory again. The chair was upright. The screens were normal. The clock read 3:27 a.m. Had it all been a hallucination? A dream? I wanted to believe that, until I saw the data log. The telescope had recorded no signal from space. But the biometric sensors had registered something impossible. 2 distinct heartbeats, perfectly synchronized, for precisely 48 minutes. Mine and hers. Weeks passed. I tried to move on, but the world felt emptier somehow. The night sky seemed too quiet. And sometimes when I closed my eyes, I could still feel her touch, the static warmth of her hand, the echo of her voice saying my name. I stopped eating meat. I couldn't stand the idea of taking life, even in small ways. I started volunteering at hospitals, just to be near the fragile rhythm of human hearts. And every once in a while, when the observatory dishes swept across the stars, a faint pattern flickered through the noise. A pulse, steady and familiar. I don't respond anymore. But I still listen. Because she wouldn't let me go. And maybe someday when the stars burn low and the last signal fades, I'll hear her whisper again. "You were the one who destroyed our star. And the one who gave me a reason to forgive." The thought stops my heart every time. And for a brief silent moment, it feels like she's home again.